The drop section of the rules guides the design of the lowest layer in your network, connecting the customer site to the larger network. In this section, you'll instruct the software on how to determine which sites should be served out of which piece of drop equipment, what cable and duct types are available for use, and what equipment should be used at the drop. The drop layer, and only the drop layer, allows you to define different service parameters for aerial and buried drop equipment. The first choice you should make is how to deal with drop equipment in vaults. By default, each demand point will be served by a separate drop point, representing a piece of drop equipment. If multiple drop points are located at the same spot, they will be merged into a single point representing them all. You can also choose an option which would not merge overlapping points, instead stacking them. Or you can choose to cluster. If you choose to cluster, multiple demand points can be served from a single drop point. The size you set here will be in terms of number of cables, number of fibers, or number of homes. If you choose cables, then the cluster will be limited by the number of cables required to provide service to all points. If fibers are chosen, then it will be limited by the number of fibers required to provide service to all points. This is impacted by settings you have made in the demand section of the rules. You could also choose to cluster by homes, referring to the sum of the pawn homes and point-to-point homes values at all demand points to be served. This process is further limited by the cutoff distance. ComSoft Fiber will attempt to respect this value when clustering and matching points to be served to points doing the serving. If a point to be served is farther away than this number, it will most likely not be included in that particular service area. A more detailed breakdown on the clustering process can be found earlier in this series. Aerial drop points can be clustered slightly differently than underground drop points. While they both must respect the same cluster distance and type, cable, fiber, or home count, aerial drops can be set with a different size constraint than underground. You also have the option of creating your aerial clusters around only one pole, or allowing cables to run across multiple poles to serve demand points. So how do you set these up? Well, consider the equipment the drop point represents. What are its limitations? Can only a few cables fit in it? Does it only have a few ports or spaces for fibers? Or do you only want a certain number of customers to be served out of it? How far away are you willing for customers to be from the service point? Do your cables have a fixed length? Use this information to fill in these parameters. You may also wish to set the maximum cluster distance to a slightly lower number than acceptable. This will produce smaller, tighter clusters. And in the event ComSoft Fiber Designer exceeds the maximum cluster distance specified, it is more likely all points will still be below the true maximum limit you find acceptable.